So I've always kind of been in this like sports entertainment world. And I've always kind of wanted to be on camera selfishly, if I'm being honest. And I said, I was part of an acquisition in Chicago and didn't necessarily need to have a paycheck the next day. Got contacted by a recruiter on LinkedIn of all things. And they're like, hey, have you ever, been interested in doing TV or ever wanted to be on a dating show? And I'm like, you know what? I literally just gotten broken up with like a month earlier. And my ex-girlfriend, her favorite show of all time,
Oh.
The
Oh my
Bachelorette.
God.
And we're talking like
Oh.
girls are over every Monday. They're like they're making
Oh.
bets. They got brackets. I mean, it is her like favorite thing to watch ever.
Dude.
And I said, if you're gonna break up with me, then what better way to get back at this girl than to have her watch me and her bet on me on her favorite show every Monday for as many weeks as I can swing it.
Okay, so first of all,
That's
this is
cold, dude.
the
Jesus.
best story I've ever heard in my entire life. Second of all, I have a follow-up question to that. So when did she find out you were going on the show? You must have told her before she saw you on TV.
I did. Yeah, I told her maybe about a week before I went to go actually film.
And I'm just curious, like her initial reaction, was it like, oh, I want you back? Was she just jealous that you were getting
a
this
little
gig?
bit? It was a little bit like there was self-preservation. It was a little bit like, oh, but what if we might maybe talk and work out again? And yeah, I was pretty much set on going at that point. So there was no reconciliation happening.
Amazing. And if I may, so how old were you when you got that call from LinkedIn or that message from LinkedIn?
29.
Okay. And how old are you now?
33. It's been a minute.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so
the
that's
season aired 3 years ago.
Oh, super recent. Okay. And
Bachelor World, that's not recent. That's a million years ago in Bachelor World.
That's fair enough, I suppose. So, and now I know Michael had mentioned Bachelor in Paradise. Were you on that as well?
I was. They asked me back for some reason.
And are there like gigs ongoing that like you could see yourself going to, or other shows, or just like actual like, sort of like events that you attend like on behalf of like that Bachelorette franchise?
Immediately afterwards, yes. The moment the new guys, the new crop of guys pop up and there's, new guys on your screen and the new Bachelorette cast, you're pretty much forgotten in that capacity. If you want to stay relevant in the space, it's kind of sad, if I'm being honest. Like, you got to do show after show after show, and it's just not a lifestyle that I wanted to maintain. It's fun, don't get me wrong. The DMs I've gotten have been hilarious and awesome as a single guy. And so awesome. there are perks to the gig, but you kind of sell your soul a little bit, if I'm being honest, to be like a reality star, to have to do that every few months to maintain that popularity, because it is so fleeting. It wasn't for me. I mean, I've got like an advanced degree for a reason. I didn't necessarily want to do that forever, but dude, it was so fucking fun. I would, if I had to do it all over again, I totally would. It's such a cool experience. And I don't know if it's necessarily like put me in a position to be successful in my career, but there is something to be said about someone going, wait a minute, aren't you Iggy from the show, in a meeting, and just have it be like, you got this like this sort of like elevated, notion about yourself from other people every now and then. And it does kind of help like ease the tension or break the ice a little bit. So I'll take it. I had a great time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a built-in conversation piece, and it's also an amazing way for people to remember you and distinguish you among so many other people that they might meet in a day, a week, a month.
The only downside to that is you have to, I think there's such a stigma about the Bachelor community that it's almost a detriment sometimes. It's like, you were on the show, so you must be like a dumb guy, right? Yeah. Like you must be kind of like a dumb, handsome guy. And I'll take the second part.
I was going to say, they got the handsome part, right?
You got to work against that a little bit.
That's interesting, because I think you're right. I never thought of this, but just the idea that you had your MBA before you even went on this show, I think is probably not something people would assume. That, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I have just a couple more questions. So when you got on the show, like when you actually arrived on the show and you go through like a day or two of production, I don't want you to sell out the show at all, but is there something like my wife watches, The Bachelorette and The Bachelor, like, is there something that would be like fun for her to know that like sort of happens on the show that like isn't, sensitive, information, but that, you could sort of tell the fans or the audience?
Yeah. So the first week's really tough. They tell you that you're going to be on the show for a minimum of 4 days, a maximum of 9 weeks. the first 4 days, you're locked in a hotel room and you cannot leave. There is no TV, there is no radio, there is nothing to communicate to the outside world. They take your phone, which is the experience the entire time. So you have no TV, no radio, no internet, no computer, no phone, no nothing. You're locked in a room for 3 days because they're talking about the show on TV. So if you watch something on TV and you haven't seen any other competitors yet, you don't really know what the environment's like. You don't know what the narrative for the show is like. So you're basically locked in a room for 3 days. You get 30 minutes to go work out every day, and that's how you are outside in the world. You go absolutely stir crazy. Imagine being in a box for 3 straight days with this built-up anticipation every single day about something happening. The first time that you see anyone else, you're in your suits and you're walking into the limo and you're being limoed up to the house, and it starts immediately.
Whoa!
And that walk, that when you open the door from that limo, that walk to go see the girl, it's like 90 feet, right? Maybe 90 feet. It feels like a mile and a half. I blacked out. No one remembers what they said. Everyone just completely blacks out during that moment. All of a sudden, you're in the house, and there's a drink in your hand, and you're drunk, and you're in it. It happens immediately. It's weird.
Wow.
That's super interesting. So, I was having a conversation with actually, do you know who Chris Cody is, Iggy, from the Dan Le Batard show? So anyway, he's one of the guys on the show. We were literally having this conversation today, and I want to ask you, and I'll end my questioning on this, and I don't know if, Michael, you have any follow-up, but so, we were talking about how people kind of like think they're in love when they're on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, like immediately. And to people, onlookers, to people watching TV, most like rational people are thinking, well, how could you possibly be in love? It's been like 3 days or 2 weeks or, a month. Like most people just can't really process that idea. But, now that you say how isolated you are and how you have no outside media, no outside anything, I mean, your entire world is, in your case, is this one girl that is, trying to find her man. And I'm wondering, does that lend itself to like not even understanding that there's an outside world anymore? And you're just so kind of like boxed in, and your reality is so, narrow that it lends itself to like really like falling for a person.
Yes is the answer. And I usually explain it like this. Number one, the show it isn't necessarily based in logic, right? The whole show is intended to create scenarios where your emotions get the better of you. And I always communicate it like this. Like, so Sia, what's the first date you went on? What'd you do? Where'd you go? I'm asking you.
The last first date, I went to a bar to watch football with my now wife. Brunch,
amazing.
Actually. Drinks were involved.
Imagine if your first date was someone putting you on a private jet to Napa, where they had the creators of Camus come down and give you a horseback ride through the vineyard, talked about the wine. You went back, had a sunset picnic on this beautiful ridge overlooking this winery, drinking wine with this person, engaging so intimately for the first time. Can you imagine even having that experience? There's no fucking way you don't feel something when that happens. The environment is so, I don't care if it was me and fucking Michael. I'd be like, dude, the flannel's not bad.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
It's just, they curate the environment so well for you to feel something. And quite candidly, every guy that goes on there, we're all kind of this, like, we're athletic, kind of, we're competitive, like, and nobody wants to get kicked off. You want to win. Or you at least, you don't want to win. But you don't want to lose.
Yeah.
You don't want to go home. Like we're competing now. And so you kind of will yourself to feel the stuff, and they put you in an environment where it makes it really easy to feel stuff. And by the way, you're hammered drunk from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. It's a producer's job, man.
That, with that context, it all like kind of falls into place. It actually makes quite a lot of sense. Interesting.
It's amazing. I think I look good in this flannel, by the way.
I think you look great, pal.
Thanks, buddy.